Hey, Rosara.
Hello, Gilberto, is that you or is that Asela?
Yeah, that's me, Gilberto.
Oh, hold
Do
on
you
a
think the
second.
transcript is good at the bottom or no?
What?
Do you think the transcript at the bottom is good or no?
Yeah, I think that looks good. I like it. It doesn't distract me.
Okay, just to
Yeah.
make sure. And
Yeah.
then I made you host. I have a call at 12, so I might not be able to make it. But I was
Okay.
just like, I'm gonna log in early just to
Thank you.
get it
Just
set up.
sure. Okay, let me do that. I don't know how many people are gonna show, but I have to admit them in, right?
Yeah, you'll have to admit them in.
Okay. Okay, cool. And then I've got here.
And I think, do you know how to go live on Facebook or no?
I know how to push the button on my phone. How do I do it from here?
Well, let me see. There should be. Is there an option at the bottom?
There's a
that
live
says-
transcript. There is breakout room, stop video, participants, live on Facebook. Just click that button.
Yeah,
It
and
says live on Workplace by Facebook. No, just live on Facebook.
it should be just live on Facebook. It's probably gonna connect to your account though, but we could probably share it to the Chambers page.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so how do I share it to the Chambers? I'm letting Maria in. How do I do that?
You would have to. It would have to be logged in to somebody who has logged into the Chambers account.
Okay, but either way, anybody who logs into the Zoom, right? If they click the Zoom, they can see this regardless.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And then later we'll just transfer this over to the Chambers page. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because you won't, because you're not connected to the Chambers profile, I don't think.
I don't know. I'm not. Let me also pull up their bios, because do you have that flyer with both of their? I can pull it. I mean, I can pull what I sent to you guys as far as bios.
I put it there on the event, on the Facebook event.
Oh, perfect. Let me see.
If you scroll at the bottom, it should have it.
Let me see. That might be easier. Oh, mention learn. The bottom. No, I don't see their bios, but that's okay. I can pull it really quickly and set the bio.
It makes me leave it.
The what?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me, Rosada?
Yes.
I'm trying. I have two very important Zoom calls at noon.
No worries. Hold on. Let me
And
just.
I'm trying to see if I could just open the other one so I could see my presence. And it disconnects me. It asks me if I want to disconnect from this one.
No worries.
I'm here. Do you need me to pull up something? Or are you trying to look for the?
No, I was trying to pull up I just want to put this all on Word, but give me a sec. Minimize this file. Open new document.
I love your hair. You chopped it off.
Huh? I did. I needed to go. Oh my God. I don't want to save that. I need a file, new document. Come on. Oh Lord. Here's Autumn. And then I'm gonna do. Okay, and then I'm gonna do Kimberly. Sorry, I'm trying to. Hopefully we have a few folks. Let me see, Kimberly, not to worry. Here's Autumn's.
Yeah, let me see if Acela will join early, because that way, I think if Acela joins early, she could probably share it live through the Chambers page.
Oh, okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
Because if you make her a co-host as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna make her a co-host.
Yeah, that would be something. I guess we need to have a training class how to moderate this. Like because if you're not here, Acela can't. That way we all learn how to do this.
Yeah. Like a list of, I guess you have like a list of questions, right? Rosaura,
Uh-huh.
you have a list of questions that you send them out prior to?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to put you back on the thing, but I needed to take off my headphones for a second. Yes, I have questions. So the format will be, I'll do a quick intro. I'll welcome everybody to the space. I'll let Acela talk for a little bit about the chamber. And then they will do a 15-minute presentation each. And then I have 10 to 15 minutes worth of questions for them. If the audience doesn't ask anything, just in case, and then I will open it up to Q&A and during those 10 to 15 minutes. And after that, we'll just say thank you so much, and then follow us on social media, become a member, XYZ. I think.
That's awesome.
Okay, let me go back to, hold on, I just want to make sure that I've got you guys. Okay. I don't have anybody else in the room yet, so I'm hoping we get people. Hold on. I posted it on my LinkedIn, but I don't know if I had enough time. Okay. Okay, I have Autumn who wants to join. Are we good to let her in?
Yeah, I think we should be good. I guess your call.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Autumn. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Great.
I didn't realize that I wasn't going to be able to do this on my work computer. So it's on
Oh, no.
it's all good.
No, it looks good. It looks good. We can hear you.
I'll put some lights on too. I'll have to.
Let me see. Share to. Let me see. And so we're waiting on Kimberly and then our board president, but we will be going live after that.
Okay.
Cool. Tune in.
Oh, goodness.
Let's see. Perfect. Acela, do we have you on? Or is it Sergio? I don't know who it is. Perfect. Hello, Acela. Let me message the waiting room. Hello, everyone. I think we have Kimberly here now as well. Welcome. I'm alerting everybody who's in the waiting room that I'll let them in 2 minutes or so if they are there. And ladies, Autumn and Kimberly, just so you know, we will we are recording this, and then we are also putting this on our social media feed shortly after this, so that it's accessible to the public after we do a few edits. And we'll send that to you guys as well, so that you have that for your records and your folks. Perfect. And the format will, any questions on the format? Awesome. Great. So pretty much like last time, and we should, if we do have questions from the audience, I'll open it up to the floor, but I will have some questions for you regardless. I'm going to mute myself for just a moment. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Greater North Texas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Lunch and Learn. We're welcoming you into this space, and we will start shortly here around 12:02, as I know some folks are getting the link and figuring out where the Zoom button is on our Facebook event page. So welcome to the space, and I appreciate your time for being here. Again, we'll start around 12:02 for all of those wonderful folks who are joining us. And feel free to share on your social media forums, as we would love guests to come in to the room at any given time. This will also be recorded and sent out via our social media platform, Facebook. And hello, everyone. As I mentioned, we'll start around 12:02. For those of you who are just joining us, we are very excited to have you here as our guests. And welcome to the Greater North Texas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce's Lunch and Learn on Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. So for the time being, welcome to the space. Grab some water, some coffee, your lunch, and we will get started shortly.
I'm dialed in and I can just play.
And a few housekeeping rules. If you are in the Zoom room, if you will make sure that your mics are turned off until we ask for audience participation during the Q&A. We're prepping those wonderful questions about equity, diversity, and inclusion for the two incredible experts that we have in the room. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll get started shortly.
Oh, I'm ready.
Awesome.
I don't know how to do it live on Facebook. Is there somebody that can do this?
That's okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get that started. Let me admit some folks in. And we are about to go live on Facebook for all of our wonderful friends. Hang on tight just a moment. Let's see if this works. Oh, says I do
Hello?
not have hello, Sergio. Says I do not have live permission to Gilberto, do we still have you on?
It's not on. I think he put me on, but I don't see an option here. How do
Oh
you
no.
do that? Live transcript? No.
It's live on Facebook. I see it on more. Maria, our co-host, do you have, if you click on, sorry about the technical difficulties, y'all, give us a second. Maria, will you click on the option that says more and do live on Facebook since you're a co-host and see if you're able to do that? I get an error.
I think she is not even,
She's on.
I know, but I don't know if she was able to be co-host with us or not.
We did, we made her a co-host, I think. She's trying. Okay. Let me try one other thing.
Where do I hit more?
Are you getting an error as well?
Yes.
Let me see if I sign in. Give me one moment. Okay. Give me a moment and now let me see if I can do it. Well, we don't have permission. Let's try one other thing. Either way, we're recording this. Let me see.
You should be able to do it. Rosado, you can view.
No, I'm recording it. I just did live on Facebook. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry, you guys. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Give us 1 more minute to troubleshoot our technology issue. Give us 1 second.
Hosting the meeting today. We're on a meeting. This is a meeting.
And just a few house rules. If you are not a co-host at the moment, if you can make sure to mute, that would be greatly appreciated as we're troubleshooting.
I muted. Yeah. Oh, it's not live. You there?
Okay, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. My name is Rosara Cruz, and I am a proud board member of the Greater North Texas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and also a co-chair of the Events Committee. So welcome so much. We will post this recording on our social media forums, specifically Facebook, later, probably by tomorrow afternoon after we edit the beginning portion. So welcome to all who are joining today. We really appreciate your time and your presence. And without further ado, we'll get started because I'm super anxious to learn about today's Lunch and Learn, which is equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we have 2 wonderful guests. But before I introduce our 2 wonderful guests, Ms. Autumn Lawson and Ms. Kimberly Evans, I'd like to turn this over to our incredible board president, Ms. Acela Garrett, for a few remarks. Acela, would you like to take the floor and welcome everyone into the room? Oh, and I think you are muted, Acela.
Sorry about this. This is all too technical for me, but welcome everyone. Thank you so much for your time. It's very valuable, and we appreciate that you are willing to share your expertise on this subject with us. So, Rosara, thank you for your efforts. As always, very, very well done. We want to welcome you. Our Greater North Texas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is an organization that cares about our community. We are here to expand and educate, inspire, do all the things that we feel that our community is just ready to partake and go on to the next level. So thank you so much. We appreciate all your effort, Maria, Rosaura, for chairing this committee, and let's get this going. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Acela. And we'll talk a little bit more about the chamber and how you can get involved at the conclusion, if there's any time, at the conclusion of this panel. So I'd like to introduce Ms. Autumn Lawson, who is a Vice President Treasury Management Officer at First United Bank. She completed her Bachelor of Science degree in Finance at Oral Roberts University while competing in track and field on scholarship. She then earned an MBA in Strategic Management from the University of North Texas. All right. And she has almost 12 years of commercial banking experience, with 9 of those years specializing in cash and liquidity management for businesses. And at First United, Autumn leads treasury efforts for the bank's largest specialized lines of business, while also managing the Treasury Management Internship Program. And in 2020, she took on a hybrid job function as the spearhead for diversity and inclusion initiatives of the organization, assisting leadership with deepening its impact. Autumn is an active partner with her church, where she has served as a student ministry leader for 6 years. And for the past 2 years, she's volunteered at Mountain View College in the Bank Works program, preparing minorities who seek entry-level banking careers. Additionally, she is a member of the Dallas Association for Financial Professionals and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Autumn is the board assistant treasurer of her sorority's chapter's nonprofit foundation, Alliance for a Brighter Community. And in her spare time, she enjoys daily gym workouts, foreign travel, trying new foods, seeking wild adventure thrills, and cheering on her son's soccer team. Autumn lives in Prosper, Texas with her husband and 6-year-old son. Welcome, Autumn, to the panel room. And I'd also like to introduce Kimberly Y. Evans. And Kimberly Y. Evans' career spans almost 30 years in the financial services industry. Kimberly specializes in transactional law, which includes contracts, taxes, tax-free retirement accounts, living benefits, mortgage banking, and regulatory policy, risk, and compliance. Kimberly has experience in law firms and corporate business with companies such as Yellow Freight, Sprint, Fannie Mae, and Bank of America. She's also a certified housing counselor, an IRS certified tax preparer, and a licensed financial consultant, skills she uses to help individuals, families, and business owners achieve financial independence. Kimberly is the founder of Purpose Consulting, LLC, a 5 Rings financial agency, where she currently serves as the president and CEO, managing the financial and operational functions of the company. She also develops financial education programs for speaking engagements and workshops. Education programs include Money 101 and Wine, Women in Wealth, focused on how money works, living benefits life insurance, and tax-free retirement accounts, indexed annuities. And one of the benefits Kimberly most enjoys about her role is the opportunity to mentor and coach others in the areas of leadership, personal development, and entrepreneurship. Ms. Evans is currently serving as the president of the Collin County Black Chamber of Commerce, board member of the Black Women's Wall Street, and is the co-founder of the Black African American Collaboration, a division 5 Rings Financial, co-founder of Women Equipping Women, W.EW, board chair for Blessed by Networking, a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Council for Inclusion in Financial Services, and the National Council of Negro Women and the Collin County NAACP. Raised as an Army brat, Kimberly has the ability to relate to anyone and has the attitude of service to everyone. Her passion is quality of life for all of those she has the opportunity to serve. Educating everyone on how money works and living life without limits is her personal mission in life. And welcome to these both extraordinary women. I've had the pleasure of meeting both of you in the months prior, and I'm very excited that we have you here today to talk about equity, inclusion, and diversity in the workplace and best practices and what you guys are currently doing and what's happening in this industry. I'll turn it over to Autumn first, and then we'll transition over to you, Kimberly. Autumn, you have the floor.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure and a joy to be here. I hope you guys can hear me okay. If not, just I can see some faces on the screen. So if you can kind of give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, that'd be really helpful. Thank you. I see it. See the thumbs up. You guys heard my background, and so I'm sure there's some questions of going, man, this person has, a number of years in treasury management, a number of years in banking. How in the heck did you get involved in what we call at First United Bank inclusion and diversity efforts? And I'll unpack that a little bit, but really where it kind of started was in 2020 in June, after the murder of George Floyd. Our CEO brought a group of Black and Brown employees together. Our director of retail realized that there were some heavy hearts and some differences of opinions that day when people were coming into work. And so he opened up the floor for people to really just be open and be vulnerable. That's a huge aspect within First United, where we have the opportunity to bring our whole selves to work. We truly want authenticity. And so at a bank that's been in existence for 120 years plus out of Durant, Oklahoma, not sure if any of you are Okies or at least have traveled to Durant. That is where Choctaw Casino is. So if you've ever tried your luck there, you were in Durant, Oklahoma. And that's where our bank is based out of. So you can imagine some of the lack of diversity, and then therefore the lack of knowledge as it relates to diversity that comes from that. And so at that time, our director of retail realized that there were a lot of people coming into the work with heavy hearts and wanted to just open up the floor for people to talk through that. In doing so, you got things from all different ends of the spectrum. You had your employees that said, hey, I identify as a Black male, as a Black female who has Black children or a Black husband, and what that felt like in that moment. And maybe some of the fear and the anxiety swirling around at that time during the social unrest. And then you also had people on a completely different opposite end of the spectrum, where their perspective was, hey, my husband is a law enforcement officer, or I am feeling like, hey, just because I don't identify as a Black male or a Black female, does that mean that now I'm being ostracized and categorized in a certain way just because I don't identify as that? And so that allowed our director of retail to hear from multiple perspectives. That call was very emotional, as you might imagine. And then the word got around to Greg Massey, who is our CEO, and he then assembled a group of our senior leaders to come to our Dallas location, which happens to be the most diverse across our Texas and Oklahoma markets. Went down to our Dallas location, pulled and asked a team of Black and Brown employees to come together so he could hear and learn. And so I'll tell you, that is kind of the significance of the inclusion and diversity efforts within First United specifically. And that would be my challenge and encouragement to everybody on this call, everybody listening, that it doesn't matter where you are in the journey. If you're very new in the journey, it's okay. Embrace that. We certainly have at First United. Or if you're a mega institution or a large organization where you guys have been doing it for years, there's still, something said for that as well. At First United, it stemmed from that meeting when our CEO got everybody together and just said, what can we do so that everybody feels that they can bring their true, authentic self to work? We are a faith-based bank. We truly strive on being authentic, being vulnerable. And you don't always hear that in the banking world. You don't always hear that you want to merge the two, the corporate and the professional side with your humanism. And so we got the opportunity to do that. That meeting then stemmed our CEO to say, hey, we need to do more. In the 120 years of the bank's existence, there had never been an effort related specifically to our diversity, inclusion, and equity. From there, he gathered a small but mighty team together. There are 3 of us that kind of took on these efforts and said, okay, we've got to kind of roll our sleeves up and start the learning journey. And that is where we are today. That is, we've been in existence, this small group, for just a little over a year. So it is truly a learning journey. Some of the things that we use as part of our strategic targets are awareness, access, and humanity. And what that means, like I said, we're in that learning phase. So we're still in the awareness piece of the journey. Awareness meaning what we found out in having these open dialogues was you could see the light bulbs going off. You could see the people that really didn't know what we were talking about, had not experienced certain things. And so we really adopted the learning. How then do we make sure that the entire organization is aware that there are employees that come to work every day that feel a certain type of way? How do we create a safe space and a safe environment for people to show up exactly who they are? And so through this awareness, access, and humanity, first step being awareness, we have come up with quarterly activities. For the first time ever, we had an activity, a series of activities in February of this year for Black History Month. We had an activity or series of activities rather, at the end of last year for Hispanic Heritage Awareness Month. We gathered a group of Hispanics and just asked what some may say simple questions of, what's the difference between Hispanic and Mexican? Do you want to be called Latina, Latinx? What's offensive? What's not? Why do you identify one way? Why does somebody else? And allow them to educate us. And we walked away again with the light bulbs going off of, wow, okay, now I get it. It makes sense. So we've had several of those types of meetings. We did an awareness around food. In certain cultures or certain backgrounds, people eat this type of food. Others, they eat this. And so just really honing in on the awareness piece. That will eventually transcend into access. So now that people know better, we should quote unquote do better. Now that people are aware that people feel a certain way, what then can we do? And then how do we deliver accessibility to not only entry-level positions, but higher level positions within the organization? We're really focused on cleaning up our own house before inviting people over. So we're not so much caught up in the numbers and transcending externally just yet. That will come at a later time. Today's focus, and as it has been for the last a little over a year, has been really just, let's make sure the environment internally is ready to then house anybody coming in externally. We can't open up our doors and open up the floodgates, and then people come in, and then we're not equipped and we're not ready to handle the different layers and dimensions of diversity, because then we'll lose top talent. We won't retain them, or we will lose the impact and the influence that we want to have in the community if we're not doing a good job of being able to identify and relate to them. So we made a very conscious decision. You will hear me say over and over today, inclusion and diversity. That is the name, that is our staple name of our group within First United. It's inclusion and diversity, because we have to start with the inclusion first, is what we believe. Diversity suggests that we're just looking at the outer layers. Do we have a person that's young, a person that's old, a person that's Black, a person that's white, a person that's Hispanic? Do we have a person that's Asian? And then do we just check these boxes? Well, we don't want to do that. If we're inclusive and we open up the table to any and all, essentially you'll look around and realize there's diversity. We don't have to be so forceful on the diversity aspect if we are really conscious of the inclusion aspect. So that's why you'll hear us all the time. You'll hear me all for the rest of the time that I'm with you today, inclusion and then diversity. The equity piece has not yet been added in, but it's part of our awareness, access, humanity. The third layer of humanity is what suggests, how then do we expand that out into the wall, outside of our walls, into our community? And again, that's part 3 of this journey that we are still very new in. The awareness part, we're trying to make some shifts. So we want to go from, hearts and minds that are pretty closed and unaware, so that eventually we shift to where stakeholders really understand what it means to be exclusive and how we sometimes do that in an unconscious way. We talk a lot about bias and how we have unconscious bias, things that you don't even recognize that we do and that we say. And that's not even just in hiring and in our teams, but even at our homes with our families. There are certain aspects that, not to sound biased, but we automatically assume if you've got a group of individuals and we say, hey, you guys are going to run a race, you probably pick out and say, oh, well, that person looks the most athletic, or that person looks like they're fast. How can you look like you're fast? So we go, okay, that person looks like they're going to be the better dancer, right? Or that person looks like they're going to be, this or that. And so we have to retrain our minds to not just assume things based on the outer surface. We are partnering with Franklin Covey and doing some training there. And one of the classes that myself and the two other partners for the I&D team that we sat in on, we were watching a video. And while I won't play the video, I'll kind of give you a recap of that video. It was a gentleman who was standing outside in the busy streets of New York, and he's playing a violin. He's standing on the side, just in your regular average, what we would consider regular average street clothes, a pair of jeans, a shirt, and he's on his violin. He's got the top of the violin case open. And so people are walking by. Some people are dropping change in, and some people are just kind of listening in, going, oh, like, it sounds good. And then you've got several that are completely unaware that he's standing here playing. Well, later on that evening, we find out, or late in the video, we find out that later on that same evening, the same gentleman is on the largest stage in New York in a theater with sellout crowds, and he's playing some of the greatest runs and the greatest music of all times. And so what that says to us is, he's a phenomenal musician, very well-known musicians, just standing out here, and he's just in a different environment. You put that same person playing the same exact music on a stage in front of an audience, and he's in a tuxedo, and people stop and stare and pay respect. But when he's standing out on the street corner in jeans and a shirt playing this music, he's looked at as maybe a beggar, a homeless person, somebody who's just out here like others in the streets of New York, just kind of quote unquote shooting their shot, trying to, make a name for themselves. And you have no idea of the magnitude of greatness that's standing before you, because one, sometimes we're just too busy. We get so caught up in our own day-to-day routine, and we don't take the time to stop and see somebody else. Or two, because we have given an unconscious bias that based on where he's standing, what he's wearing, and all the things that kind of get lost in people standing on the corners of New York, we completely dismiss him. And then how you transcend that into the workplace. How many people are on your teams? How many people are on the team down the hall within your organization? How many people come to meetings week after week or monthly, however often that you meet, day after day, if it's in work, and you haven't stopped to get to know them? How can we be losing or missing out on opportunities to encounter greatness because we haven't stopped to see and learn about who the person is? And so that's really what we are focused in on within First United for this year, is just one, slowing down, and two, step out of your comfort zone. It's okay to be uncomfortable. I'm guilty of this. I'm a Treasury officer. So when we get together for large meetings, whether it's, quarterly president's meeting or our stakeholders meeting where the entire bank comes together, I am queen of walking in and quickly looking for the Treasury professionals, because they're on my team. They're the people I deal with on a day-to-day basis. And that's who I sit with. That's who I go to lunch with. That's who I hey, what's going on? If I'm having a bad day, it's somebody in Treasury that I'm reaching out to. But there's an HR department, there's a marketing department, there's an IT department, there's a commercial real estate group, and the list goes on. But I hadn't done a very good job prior to this last year of trying to learn and know somebody different, which then gives me this shift into some of the challenges that I'm going to leave you with is choose the ability to be uncomfortable. We always want to be comfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to get it wrong. Sometimes our fear is that we don't know the right words to say. We don't want to be messy. We want to get it right all the time. It's okay to get it wrong. It's okay if you preface it with, hey, I'm not sure how to ask you this, but do you want me to call you this or that? Is it like, it's okay to ask that. And normally when you do that, people will respect you and people will be open to having the uncomfortable conversation as long as they know you're coming in with a loving heart and a kind spirit. So that's my challenge to you today. I know we're pressed for time, so that's my encouragement to you is to be okay being uncomfortable. This week alone, take that step to learn somebody new. Ask somebody that you don't typically have lunch or coffee with to have lunch or coffee. And we'll find ourselves in a more inclusive world if we can all just take the little baby steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Autumn. That was fantastic. It's great. I love the, it's okay to be uncomfortable. I love taking that takeaway. And I really do commend First United Bank for acknowledging that there was a need for this dialogue, and you as well for taking the helm of this initiative, because it's not always they aren't always the easiest conversations to have, right? Especially in such large organizations like yours. And now I'd love to turn it over to Miss Kimberly Y. Evans. Miss Evans, you have the floor.
Well, thank you. And thank you again for having me. And thanks for everybody for joining us today. I never take it lightly when I have the opportunity to have a conversation around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and in whichever order they put the words in. For me, it's a little bit broader than that because I've seen a lot of organizations do it in different ways. But what I want to start with is my perspective and kind of how I get to where I'm at when it comes to the D&I space, particularly around, I was in corporate America. So I have a 25-year corporate America career. And in corporate America, we have employee resource groups, and they're always trying to find ways to engage the employees and make them feel more comfortable. And you all have these mission-driven activities and all those kind of things. And now I'm on the entrepreneurial side. So I own my own company now. So it's more so not just within my own company, but then within the community. And one of the things that has become very clear to me is that we have treated diversity, equity, and inclusion as the flavor of the month based on an activity that has happened. So we don't treat it as if it's something that we should have as a part of our lives all the time. We treat it as, and Autumn spoke very brilliantly to this very issue, the death of George Floyd. I just say, oh, maybe we need to pay more attention, when in reality, we should have been paying attention all along. As our society has grown and changed, that's where we are. So what I want to suggest and just encourage everybody to think through as we continue this conversation is diversity, equity, inclusion is part of your life. It is part of who you are as a human being. And for those of us that are in the people of color category, because I don't like calling us minorities because we are not. So I call us people of color of whatever nationality or ethnicity we choose. We are living like the living, walking, breathing diversity, equity, and inclusion by the very nature of who we are as people. And so I really want everybody to understand that it's not just something we do because it happens to come up. And as soon as we can kind of internalize that, that will make a huge difference. But what I like to do, now this is the attorney in me, so you'll have to forgive me, but I really want everybody to understand the first concept I really want you to take away is diversity, equity, and inclusion are 3 different activities, not one. They mean 3 different things. And so I'm going to read the definitions to you because I really want you to understand why this is important. And I loved how Autumn and First United is going with the inclusion side of it, because the reality of it is you have to have an open mind to this. But inclusion is defined as authentically bringing traditionally excluded individuals and or groups into processes, activities, and decision or policy making in a way that shares power. That's what inclusion is defined as in our society, right? So we think about it when we're talking about ourselves, like, I just want to be able to be included in this church or this social group or this activity, but it's inclusion in all aspects of our lives, and inclusion in a way that gives us an opportunity to say, I get to have a seat at the table and be part of this conversation. And when I'm at the table, my opinion and my experiences are going to be valued and accepted. It is not a situation where I get to sit at the table, but I don't get to speak and nobody cares about what I hear, because that's often what we end up doing. We're like, well, I included them, I invited them, but did you really? Did you actually include them? Or do you just say, well, I just invited Miss Cruz because she's sitting here. Don't you see her in the picture? And it's like, yeah, but did you ask her what she thought? And that's a different level of inclusion, and that takes more effort. It takes more willingness to hear somebody, and it takes the willingness to understand that their opinion may be different than mine. Different is okay, it's not bad, and that inclusion doesn't mean it's against anybody, it's just about everybody. And I think one of the things we've done in our society is we somehow or another made this whole D&I concept negative. Like it's a divide of some kind. We have to pick sides, and you really do not. Inclusion implies that everybody has a seat at the table. I care about you. And even if, though I don't understand your experiences, they matter to me. And I love, Autumn brought up something I say all the time. We talk about cultures and we talk about the things that people like. And one of the stereotypes, I'll use our own culture, we hear all the time is like, we like chicken and watermelon. Well, doesn't everybody? And people go, oh, well, yeah, I love fried chicken. I know you do. That has nothing to do with we might be able to cook it better. I don't know, but everybody loves fried chicken. Everybody loves watermelon. So I said, so no other race in the world eats watermelon and fried chicken. That makes no sense. KFC and Chick-fil-A are multi-million-dollar companies. Apparently, many people like chicken. And so it's just simple things like that that we kind of negate when we're talking about inclusion that we have to get past. But it can't be Miss Cruz, sit at the table and be quiet. It needs to be Miss Cruz, sit at the table, tell me what you think, what are your experiences, how can I understand? And even though I cannot agree, because we can't make them a Hispanic woman, we can't make them a Latina woman, they can't be a Black woman or a Black male or female, whatever the case may be, but they can appreciate that your experience is authentic to you and then try to understand how you feel about that. So then let's go to the equity part of this, because this is another word that I think gets misused. It is a process that provides the appropriate tools to meet an intended outcome, whereby the tools removed historical barriers and other socialized gatekeepers. This is what people need to understand about equity. It is not about revenge. It is not about, I want you to make up for something. It's about, give me the equal opportunity to have access to the same tools and resources you do, and then let me use them accordingly. And what we tend to do when it comes to equity, especially when we're talking about it in our community, is that somehow or other people owe us something. And I think that messaging is incorrect. We're not asking anyone to give anybody anything. What we're saying, give us the same exact opportunities with the exact same tools and resources, and then let us grow. So we're not asking you to do anything for us, but don't try to stop us from doing it. And that's the equity piece. It's like, well, I want you guys to build a building. You give one group of people all the tools, they go build the building, and then you send me and Autumn and Rikara out to build a building, and we're just standing on the dirt. What are we gonna do with that? I mean, we're pretty creative. We can maybe make a sandcastle, I'm not sure. But the reality of it is can we get some wood and some tools and some drywall? We could probably figure this out. But this other group over here has everything they need, and we're just sitting there looking at each other going, well, I guess we'll just try to figure this out the best we can. That's the equity. And that's an extreme example, but that's really what it boils down to, is that's what equity means. And then the last part of this is diversity, because diversity is a weird word to me. We have in the financial services industry, there are only 3% of Black people that work in the financial services industry. 3%. And everybody's like, but I know so many as all. Yeah, you've met all of us. That's the whole percent right there. But the reality is that diversity does not mean it's against anybody. It means it's about us. So we have a couple of initiatives that we're working on. One is called BUILD, and it stands for Blacks Uplifting, Blacks in Leadership, Uplifting Leadership Development. And that's what BUILD is all about. And it's really about being united in helping Black people get involved in financial services and become leaders in that industry. It's not against any other group of people. It's just about the Black people. And so people say to me all the time, well, Kimberly, that's so divisive. How could you leave people out? You're not Black. I didn't leave you out. You're just simply not Black. And so I really want us to do, and I'm going to challenge everybody on this call, when you're having these conversations, help steer people away from it's against them or doing something to them, and help them understand a little bit more about, no, it's really about including everybody else from their different perspectives and understanding we all have different needs. And it's like children, right? You think about a baby, like a newborn baby can't walk, talk, feed themselves, do anything for themselves. They need your undivided attention because they are a newborn baby. Your 10-year-old, however, does not need you to feed them. They can feed themselves. But if you then had a baby and a 10-year-old and you're trying to spoon feed the 10-year-old is immediately going to be like, I can feed myself. What are you doing? But we're like, nope, everybody needs to be treated equal and we need to be diverse and we need to make sure everybody's included. So we're treating everybody the same. That's almost how we treat society. So diversity in all the ways in which people differ, and it encompasses all the different characteristics that make one individual or group of different from one another. In areas related to social justice, these characteristics refer solely on social identities, including race, gender, expression, age, disability, and religion. And again, diversity will get me back to this conversation around the fact that you don't have to agree or be included, you just have to understand. Being empathetic means that you're understanding something from someone else's perspective. So all of these three things need to come together, but they're individual activities that need their individual focus. And I think where we find ourselves challenged, especially in a corporate environment, is they get meshed together. So I've done one activity and I've covered all three. And the question I would challenge everyone with is, but have you? And so being in the community, I get to see it from a different perspective, because in corporate America, it's a well-defined kind of core group of people. So you can operate like First United, they've put together a way to reach all of their people. In the community, now you have a bigger reach beyond that. And then how do you get people in our communities and society moving in that same direction? And it's people just like ourselves, because this conversation is so important. And I will tell you, it's so important. I don't know if any of you follow some of the leadership developers and that do this for a living, like Darren Hardy or Keith Ferrazzi or some of these leaders. But Darren Hardy is really on this platform of, in the 21st century leaders are completely different than what it used to be. You don't get to have that mean boss that yells at everybody. Everybody's always fearful of their jobs and doing whatever they have to do. You don't get to treat people like they don't matter because of their color, their background, whatever it is. You don't get to treat women like that. He has literally set up a platform where he tells people, if you don't have a millennial, you better go get you one. If you don't have a woman, you better go get you one. If you don't have a person of color from different ethnic groups, you better go get you one. Because in the 21st century, all of those forces are coming together, and you need to make that work so that you can be successful, not only in your individual career, but in your professional career. And if you are running a business or a company, you need to make sure all of that works. So diversity, equity, and inclusion needs to be a way of life, and everybody needs to understand we all serve a role in it, because we all have built-in prejudices, we have built-in belief systems, and part of it is the way we were raised. Part of it is the way, and I think I shared this when we were speaking before, people that don't see me speak, when they hear me speak, often think that I'm a white woman. And when they meet me in person, they will say, you don't look like I thought you would. And I'm always like, well, what did you think I look like? And I know what they mean. And generally I let them off the hook because they immediately start looking like they're about to pass out. But what it is that they don't really understand that well-spoken people come from everywhere. Educated people come from everywhere. It's not really based on our criteria. And I love that Autumn said, you can't tell, what does a fast person look like? I mean, some of the fastest people in the world, you would look at them and be like, you look malnourished. What are you doing? But they are healthy and can outrun all of us, right? So we often have those kind of just preconceived notions about who people are and what they're about. And so I really want to challenge everybody, think about diversity, equity, and inclusion as a part of all aspects of your life. Be comfortable to have that conversation with everyone, and be comfortable to include them in the conversation where they're lost. But here's what I think is really critical, especially for this group, is that one of the things we've got to be able to do is allow people a safe place to ask the questions. Because what I hear from a lot of white people, because that's usually the group that's kind of trying to figure it out. The rest of us are like, we've been living here forever. Like, we're glad you guys caught up, but we live here. But, you know, they will say, well, but every time I ask a question, I get called racist. And let's be real, some of that's true, right? Some of it is they don't have a safe space to ask. So one of the things we can do is let them off the hook to say, if you want to know anything about the Latina community, about the Mexican community, about the Hispanic, however we identify, if you want to know something about the Black community, come and ask me. I will tell you, I will answer the question and give them a safe place. So then we can educate them and then they can go educate the other people they know. If we don't answer their questions or give them a safe place to have that conversation, what ends up happening is exactly what we're trying to fix now. They've jumped to their own conclusions. They have their own thought processes. And because they don't have any way to verify it, they just run with that. So we need to take charge of, if we want them to know about our communities, we're going to be the ones to tell them. And we're going to be the ones to help them get there. And with that, I will stop talking so that we can allow some time for Q&A. I will say I so appreciate the opportunity to speak about this topic and love having this conversation, because I think that's the only way we grow through it. And the last thing I will say before I turn it back over is that whatever you do, be 100% honest and authentic at all times. Just be, people may not accept it. People may not want to hear it. Don't let that be a deterrent from you doing it anyway. I always say it this way: make people tell you no, make them tell you why they told you no, and then do it anyway. So with that, beautiful, I will turn it back over to you and we can take some questions if we have any.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kimberly. I really like the idea of making sure that we're looking in the window in our companies and organizations, and of this idea of preconceived notions. What does that look like in our personal workspaces, right? So thank you for challenging us to get engaged in the conversation. I will open it up to the audience for a Q&A. So if you will call yourself into space if you would like, and introduce yourself and just ask the question. I love hearing people's voices, so being engaged and being a part of the conversation is very important to me. If you don't feel comfortable calling yourself into space, or maybe you have the dogs barking or the children's running around, you can totally drop it in the chat box and I'd be happy to ask that question for you as well. And don't be shy. If you have any questions, jump on in.
I like to just not a question, but maybe Kimberly can have some input on this. I know we're a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, you know, and a lot of times we get asked, you know, well, can I invite someone that is not Hispanic, you know, to come to the events and stuff? So the name itself, it just sounds very exclusive. It's, you know, only Hispanics, you know, Hispanics only. I don't want to say we're new, but we need to hone the message that it's a Hispanic by Hispanics, but it's open. I mean, this is our way of including ourselves into the conversation, into the community, to say, yeah, we're here, we can contribute. We have people that are just as bright, just as prepared, just as educated, just, you know, the entrepreneurs. Give me, Kimberly, you know, I know you're president of a Black chamber. Give me some words that I can come up with, that I can explain to people why we are a Hispanic chamber.
So I say it this way about the Black chamber, is that our focus is Black business owners. However, anybody that is on board to support that effort and really get to know our business owners and let them get to know you is welcome to support that. I just want you to understand the focus, but anybody is welcome to be a part of our organization and help us work and grow in the community. So it's not exclusive to just Black members. The focus, though, is just to make sure that we are supporting Black business owners. And so I tell everybody all the time, they're always welcome. As long as you understand that we're trying to support our business members and you want to support us too, let's do it.
Very good. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. I say it's not for Hispanics only, it's by Hispanics to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think, again, that gets back to that conversation I was saying a few moments ago. It's like people immediately hear the name and they assume that means only Black. And I always ask people, they're like, well, God, I would really love to be a part of what you're doing. And I said, well, why aren't you? And it's like, well, because it's the Black chamber. I was like, okay, well, the chamber in and of itself is not Black, just the members are, and the business owners that we're trying to support are, but you're more than welcome to join. And they kind of chuckle, right? But I think it's just this concept, because if we use a descriptive word that's based on race, they immediately think exclusion instead of inclusion. And what we really need to get people to do is say, no, I get to be included in the mission of this organization. And the mission just happens to be Black business owners or Hispanic business owners. And we want to support all of that in that mission. But yeah, it's really, and it again, it gets back to just the way we are all been taught to think.
Yes. It is a work in progress, but 2021 is a different world. I mean, I know even 20 years ago, this was still very, very taboo to talk. Nobody knew how to approach it. Racism is still, alive and well. We know how it shows up in institutions. So I'm so happy. I mean, the bank, the people that we've met in the bank, the priorities and the focus is just very refreshing to me to see, because I've lived the part where I was a token Hispanic for many years in the places that I work. And now to be able to say, hey, I'm not just a token. I'm here and I've got something to contribute, and I feel more comfortable. I feel more secure. I feel like, well, you don't like me, that's too bad. And, but we're here and we're Hispanic. We don't happen to be Hispanic. We are Hispanic. We are proud of who we are. I wear my color with pride. I got over this thing that, oh, I don't see color.
I think
It's beautiful. Let's be real. I love seeing color. I love seeing, your skin and your features and your accents. All of that is beautiful. All of that is part of the greatness of who we are, so anyway.
And Acela, you brought up a great point, right? Time 20 years ago.
Yes.
For the both of you, for Autumn and or Kimberly, if either one of you want to chime in on this, what are some common misconceptions now, right, in 2021 that people have about bringing equity, diversity, inclusion programs and practices into the workplace? And then how can these misconceptions be communicated more effectively?
Well, I can start with that one while Autumn gets off mute. But I think one of the problems is that the term in and of itself, people immediately think divisive. They immediately think we're going to invite conversations that may be hard or uncomfortable, or we're going to bring up topics that are going to cause a problem. And so the biggest way to deal with that is, and it's literally one person at a time, probably one conversation at a time, one meeting at a time, is to really get people to understand the whole purpose behind D&I and the fact that it's inclusive of them as well. It's not meant to divide, it's meant to bring everybody together to understand every perspective possible. And I'll use this example. It's like people that grew up poor, their skin color had nothing to do with their experiences being poor. That is something they all have in common. So if they're no longer poor and they're able to pay all of their bills, they find themselves in a better position. That is something as opposed to, well, somebody who grew up white and poor and somebody who grew up Hispanic and poor and somebody who grew up Black and poor, somehow or another, there's a difference between that poverty struggle. That poverty struggle is the same. Different colors, but it has nothing to do with that. That commonality is what you're looking for in the D&I. What makes us more similar than what makes us different? What divides us is because we allow it to. We just give it that impression. And so I think that's part of it. And then the continuing education, I think pushing the effort. And I will say I loved, and if I say your name incorrectly, please forgive me, but Acela's comment about 20 years ago. Here's the biggest difference I see today than 20 years ago is the fact that before we asked permission to have the conversation. Today, we don't care. We're having the conversation whether you want to have it or not. So I think the younger generations have been raised by parents that are saying, you know what, enough is enough. You're going to listen to it whether you like it or not. I didn't ask you to agree with it, but you're going to hear with it. So we don't ask for permission. And honestly, I think we're moving to the part where we don't ask for forgiveness either, because that's usually the comparison, right? I'm a person that either asks for permission or forgiveness. We're not asking for permission or forgiveness. We don't care. You're going to understand who we are, what we are about, what we bring to the table, how amazing we are, and how collectively we can really accomplish almost anything if we can spend more time on our similarities and our common skill sets and the things that we bring, where we balance one another out. If we can bring all of that together, then we all win. And I think we're just going to force that issue going forward.
Two other misconceptions that I would add to what Kimberly just mentioned is that one, that diversity and inclusion, equity, that this is all new. This is a new concept. Oh, it just started last year after a singular incident. Oh, this is brand new. It's not new. So that's one huge misconception. The other one is that we believe that we can fix it ourselves. We have a bad thought process that, oh, if I have these biases, then I can fix it. I can just stop thinking that way, or that I don't have a problem, so this doesn't impact me. I don't see color, so this doesn't bother me. I have nothing that I need to work on, I need to do. And the way I would combat that is, no, we all have to do the work, even us, even as the people who identify as a person of color or Black. And, people ask that question all the time. What's the difference? You want to be Black? You want to be African-American? You want to be a person of color? What do you want to be? So the only way you get past this and move out of that bias is by having these meaningful conversations, having the uncomfortable conversation that pulls you out of your little zone and learn about it from somebody else's perspective. You cannot change it on your own. This is not brand new. And so those are the big things that I see here recently. Just, oh, now this all's just started. No, it didn't. Or I can fix it. Or the key one, I don't have a problem. I don't see color. I've never been a racist. Well, it's not that you're racist. We just need you to get to a point where you're so anti-racist that you now become an ally. And so there's several misconceptions, and I hope we answered your question. But we have to just be willing to do the work.
And I love that, because I think one of the things that happens is people say, well, when are we going to stop talking about this? I said, as soon as you stop putting on applications to ask me what color I am, what difference does it make? So as long as you're still tracking that number, as long as you still ask that question, does it matter that Autumn is a Black woman? So, but you asked me why she was a Black woman. Doesn't matter. Autumn is extremely qualified. Doesn't matter what color her skin is, but we still have those conversations. And I think, and Autumn brought up a really good point. I want to share this because oftentimes we feel like this is a one-way conversation, and Autumn can co-sign this because we know it's true. One of the things that we do in our community, and I don't think people realize that all communities do this, is we have inherent biases against other cultures. Like when we see certain things, like if we see something on TV and it's something that's so outlandish, the first thing that will come out of our mouths is, I had to be a white person. And it's just because of what happened. We're like, nobody in our community would do that, right? See? And she's not, so that's just as bad, right? It's just the same thing. And then if it's not, we're all like, I can't believe that was not, it's the same kind of thing. So I think trying to fix it ourselves or act like it's them and not us, and I don't have anything to do with it, is wrong. And the only way we get past ever talking about it is owning that we all have some of the kind of things and that we need to work with it. My neighbor is a white woman, and she's got a daughter that is blonde hair and blue eyed, and they moved in when she was 2. She's now 10. She has no idea that we're Black yet. It's like, it just has not, her parents don't raise her that way. And I tell her mother all the time, I said, someday somebody's going to tell her that. And she's like, yep. And I'm sending her to your house so you could explain it to her. But for them, we have these conversations all the time. And when something happens, she immediately comes over and she goes, okay, so what does this mean to your community? How are you feeling? What do you think? What should I know about it? She really and truly wants to understand. And now it's kind of happening the other way, because we had a turtle walking down our sidewalk the other day, and it walked by our house to her house. And I called her and I said, there's a turtle in your front yard. And she goes, oh, so you call the white woman to get the turtle? I was like, yeah, I'm not getting it. And so we can have those kind of, first issue, y'all, I'm city suburban with the best of them. I have no idea what to do with a turtle. And she actually grew up in the country, but she was comfortable to make that joke, and it was funny, but there's some truth to that. Right. So we also have to own the truths that come with, there are certain things that are just true. And that is okay. But it doesn't mean they're true for everybody and anybody. And so if we don't ask, then we need to ask that question so that we can learn and grow together. Because here's what everybody needs to understand, more importantly, not one of us is smarter than all of us. So it doesn't matter where the information comes from. If it is helpful, useful, intelligent, we can all grow, we can all learn. Not one of us is smarter than all of us. So why not put us all together to see what we can create and come up with?
I'm going to piggyback off of Kimberly. Your neighbor's daughter, she may not recognize the differences in the two of you, and that a large part of that is because she's probably hanging out with your daughter. She's hanging out with you, and so she has an expanded network. And so I want to just touch on each of us have to do a better job of expanding our network. If you go through your, we'd call it a network audit. If you look at your Facebook, your contacts in your phone, your email contacts, just kind of check yourself and see, does your network all look like you? There's a large percentage that they probably do. If you identify as a Black female, you probably have a large part of your network that are Black females. And so when you go on social media and you believe something firmly and you go in and you're supporting, oh, I like this, I support this. If your whole network looks and thinks like you and has the same background as you, then you're going to have a whole bunch of people that piggyback and go, yeah, girl, tell them. If I get on Facebook right now, I'm part of a Black sorority. I go to a predominantly Black church. If I get on there and I say, God is good and I love the color pink, I am going to have a gazillion people go, yes, God is good. And I also love the color pink. But if you expand your network and do a very good job of having people that have different backgrounds, then maybe somebody will challenge your thinking. Maybe somebody will say, yeah, I know you like pink, but have you looked at the color orange? Oh, I know you there's just other ways to start uncovering those biases. But if your network is all people that are just like yourself, then you have nobody to challenge you, and therefore nobody to teach you otherwise, and nobody to broaden your perspective. So that's another thing that you can start with. Expand your network. I tell that even to our senior executives. You want to have diverse pool of talent. You can't always go to the country club. You can't always go to the golf course, because other dimensions of diversity may not be at the country club or the golf course. If I'm paralyzed from the waist down, I'm not at the golf course. So you'd have to come somewhere else to find somebody that's disabled. You're not going to meet a lot of Black women at the golf course. You're not going to see several Hispanic men at the golf course. We don't have country club memberships just, pouring out of our community. So we have to do a better job of expanding so that we can also have an expanded perspective.
I love that. And thank you both for sharing all of these wonderful nuggets of information and advice, right? So that we can start the conversation. If there are, this is a topic that can't be covered in one panel. I appreciate you guys having the time for us. We are going to continue this and keep the door open for conversations like this. Is there anything else that you would like to relay to our audience, our social media audience, because this will be posted as a recording by tomorrow or so? Any final thoughts that you would like to share with our audience that you have not covered or have been asked just yet? And maybe if we can each keep it to 30 seconds each, and then we can wrap up and thank our audience for joining us.
I would just say this: if you don't know, just get involved and ask questions. Since this is going to be posted on social media, you can make comments in there. That's a great place to start, but just do something. And Martin Luther King said it this way: if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, do something.
Well, Kimberly, I would love to find a way to collaborate with your chamber. We're all about collaboration, so maybe we can have this conversation pretty soon.
Absolutely, would love to.
Awesome. And Autumn, any final thoughts? Uh-oh.
I think Kimberly said it best. Just, it's okay. Do something. Even if you're at the beginning stages, like I shared with First United Bank, this is so new to us. Our head of HR says it best. The bank has been in existence for X amount of years, and this particular initiative, this particular group has only been in existence for this amount of years. It's okay to crawl a little bit. It's going to get messy. It'll get a little uncomfortable, but you still press forward. You don't give up, and you be willing to roll up your sleeves and do the heavy lifting, because it's what's needed not only for your organization to be great, but for our communities and our world to be great. So be willing to just step out of your comfort zone, have those conversations, and at whatever layer or stage you're at, embrace that and realize that, you'll get, this too shall pass. We'll get through it.
Well, thank you both, Autumn and Kimberly, for joining us today and gifting your time to our community and the community at large in the North Texas area and beyond. And for our audience who has joined us and will join us on social media, the Greater North Texas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is here to serve you and to work alongside you. And for all of those on the interwebs, please join us next time for our Lunch and Learn. You can follow us on social media, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram. And if you have any questions, want to get involved about, with the work that we're currently doing, we have all the incredible board members at your leisure to answer any questions. So join us, and we hope to see you guys again for the next Lunch and Learn, which will be in August. I believe it will be centered the topic around real estate and the current industry and what's happening, because so much is happening in the commercial world as well. So thank you for joining us today, everybody. And we hope to see you again here at the Greater North Texas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and all of the events that are coming up. Thank you, guys.
Rosaura, let me
Thank
remind
you.
everyone, we have a networking event. Everyone that's participated today is very welcome to join us. It is at First United Bank on Woodall Rogers, 1845 Woodall Rogers. So we'd love to meet all of you in person. You can, please join us 6 p.m. on Friday.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you
great
so
day.
much.
Thank y'all. Have a wonderful day. Awesome. And let me stop the recording.